PSA to everyone out there. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the out of the way. Get the out of the way.
Well, you just heard from a cop from Federal Way, Washington. Her name is Brianna Strauss, and she later took that video down. But as you can imagine, you put something on the internet, it lives forever. So why don't we watch a little more of what this entitled police officer has to say?
If you merge and we follow behind you and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. The best way to find that out is get out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. Out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get out of the way. Super simple. That's all. You're welcome.
So it's amazing the sense of entitlement she has, as if, first of all, no cop should have that sense of entitlement. First of all, talking about driving 90 miles per hour and how you're entitled to that, knowing full well that that's the opposite of protecting and serving. You're putting people's lives in danger, but who cares? Move the F out of the way. By the way, we censored the F word, but in the original video, she just curses out people. I should also note that following people, looking for an excuse to pull them over is a giant critique that communities have toward cops, but thank you for just admitting it on camera. And Cenk, she's a rookie cop. She got sworn in a little over a year ago. August 9th of 2021 is when she got sworn in. But man, that culture seeps in right away. That culture of entitlement. It's amazing.
Yeah, look, I'll give her this. At least she was honest. I mean, that's everybody knows that she's telling the truth. That when I see a cop behind me, I get out of the way right away because I know, not because they're on duty or because they're going to break up a crime. That's a good one. If they got their lights on, hey, there's some chance that they're going to break up a crime. You're definitely get out of the way at that point. But even if they don't have their lights on and they're just cruising, I get out of their way. Why? Because I know, of course, they want to go faster than the rest of us. They're above the law. And God help me if I get in their way, because they'll pull me over for no reason. Everyone in America knows that. And why do they know that? Because they know the cops are above the law, because they're the ones who enforce the law. So there's no chance that they're going to keep themselves in check. 0% chance. Never happens. Never will happen. Okay, so we're supposed to, as the government, we're supposed to hold them in check. The citizens are supposed to hold them in check, but obviously we're not doing that anymore.
So I just want to share a personal anecdote that I think is definitely related to this story, because I agree with you, Cenk. If they're following you, if they're behind you, right, there's this urge to move out of the way because it's uncomfortable. There's a cop right behind you and you're worried that they're looking for a reason to pull you over. I don't move out of the way because I feel like if I do, that also looks suspicious, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. So I just kind of stay in place. And look, I have illegal tints on my windows. You're not supposed to have your front windows tinted, but we live in California where it's insanely hot. And so, yeah, I tinted my windows. If I get a ticket for it, it is what it is. I deserve it, right? So the cop that was following me fairly recently, like just kind of trailing me for a while. And then after a while, after I hadn't moved, I'm still driving in the lane. I'm not breaking any rules except for my illegal tint in the front windows. He decided to kind of come around and looked into the car, and I don't have my windows down. I have the windows up. You can still see the windows, see through the windows, even though they're tinted. And he looked at me and stared at me for a while and then just drove off. And obviously, you can speculate as to why he just drove off. But I think he looked in the car, saw my blonde hair and thought, all right, I'll just let her go, even though I didn't do anything wrong. But I did think about, okay, what if I were a person of color? He was really looking in to try to figure out who's this person driving this car. Didn't have a problem with my tinted windows, which was interesting.
Yeah, well, I got a personal experience too. So when I was in law school, I did a ride along with the cops in New York, and they sped like crazy. They went blasting through red lights, and it was just to show off to the law student kid, right? 100%, they would say it, right? They're like, "Oh, we aren't going anywhere. We're just having fun, ha ha!" And then they would tell me all these things that they do, etc. And look, it's not like I turned them in or anything, right? I mean, but do we all know that they do that? Yeah, of course. And so that's why they did a comical slap on the wrist here for her, and that basically tells other cops, yeah, pull over people for no reason if you want to, and speed like crazy if you want to. Who cares? We're above the law. That's the message they sent by not taking any action against her. I mean, they gave her 10 hours, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. So there was a lot of backlash after she had posted that video. And so the commander in her department, his name is Kurt Schwan, told Seattle Weekly that they had investigated it. And they also looked at her record to see if there was any other previous disciplinary issues. And since she's a rookie cop, there was nothing in her record. So they ended up giving her a 10-hour suspension to punish her for that video, which is, I mean, look, on one hand, it's actually more punishment than we've seen in the past when it comes to cops who literally shoot and killed unarmed people running away. But also a 10-hour suspension is pretty laughable. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, of course. That's one shift, and it might be like there's some chance that it actually doesn't affect her at all. Like they take away a shift she wasn't really on, and they all have a belly laugh over it later. And then they all get in their cars and drive up to people at 90 miles an hour. And if they don't get out of the way, they probably gave 12 tickets that day just to have a good laugh, right? So everybody in this country knows that cops are above the law. Should it be that way? Of course not. Is anybody ever going to do anything about it? Of course not. Why? The primary job of police in America is to protect rich people's property. So there's security guards for the rich, so they're going to get to do whatever they want.